many people here, which is fantastic. Okay. All right. Uh, if feedback is welcome. Okay. So make sure your voice works. All right. So let's start. First of all, would like to really appreciate everyone for joining, taking the time. Okay. This is the Create Unicorn Coaching Weekly Mastermind session, and I'm Shenyan Hu, okay, the founder of Ascender Impact Accelerator. Okay, so first off, for those of you who are just joining for the first time, I guess a quick background intro of what this is really about. Okay, I have been a social entrepreneur since 2011. Right now, I have three companies. We are setting the fourth one in Taiwan. I'm right now just arrived in actually North America. I went to New York, but now I'm actually in Niagara Falls, in Canada. Okay, near this area, visiting a school principal friend of mine. His school actually is a private company. It's already doing quite well, with about 400, 500 students. And, actually one of the NBA basketball players from Canada came from this school. Okay, that was the first. And I like to help him to scale up 10x. Okay, so I'm sorry, please mute yourself. Okay, if you join, please mute to respect everybody. Okay, so if you are just joining, please mute yourself. Okay. All right. And basically, the program you're joining, okay, Ascender, the goal of which is to actually incubate I've been a social entrepreneur myself for many years. But right now I'm at a stage where I believe that there could be a lot more social impact entrepreneurs. And in fact, we might want to see more quote unquote unicorns out there, which is defined as companies that have $1 billion in valuation. All right. So the goal for Ascender, which is a accelerator program, I started actually almost more than a year ago in terms of the preparation. It's officially launched just Q1, okay? And the goal is actually incubate 1,000 impact unicorns in the next 20 years. All right, I would like to see many of you become one, okay? So that's what I'm doing this and why you're here. If this is not in direct alignment with what you potentially want to do, then you don't have to be here, all right? But we are going to be very selective in the sense that, the more, probably we're raising the bars. The first thing I like to say, if you haven't, got much clue, is you have to watch the webinar, okay, which is ascender.one, the webinar, to understand what we're really about and if there's a match. And obviously, there's the course, Create Unicorn course, which I believe many of you have signed up. You should allocate about 10 to 20 minutes. It's actually not much. Okay, it's designed to be very small. You can spend, as little as 15 minutes, as much as half an hour or even an hour on it. Okay, depending on, there are some short concept and questions to be asked. Okay, do that on a daily basis, Monday to Friday, and then attend the weekly, mastermind coaching, which is this. All right, and I do want to also emphasize, all the recordings will be made available on the course page, and this is fully free of charge. Okay, the reason why we're doing this is because, I do believe that talents are everywhere, but not the access to knowledge, such opportunities. I wish when I started my entrepreneurship, back in 2011, I had such opportunity. But, they say stand on the shoulder of giants, right? So we're actually already on to the third week of the materials. And basically, we're combining the best unicorn teaching out there, possibly from Y Combinator YC, plus the 10X mindset from Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach. Dan is one of the top entrepreneur coach out there. He's coached over 20,000 entrepreneurs, including, Peter Diamandis, who founded X Prize Foundation and Singularity University. All right. So this is something I just would like you guys to understand, that there's a tremendous value in what you're getting here. Price is what you pay, value is what you get, right? Okay. And right now, although you may feel that it's, if you haven't paid the price. In fact, you have. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is that that time is limited, right? But even more limited is our attention. And today, with social media, with lots of other things, a lot of things are competing for our attention, including yours. So the fact that you are here and showing up, okay, I believe that is you are paying the price of your attention. And why am I saying that? It's because we know that we are entering the age of AI, right? Many of you are probably familiar with ChatGPT and even using it, right? We are using that on a daily basis. If you haven't, then you probably want to start, and you will start with our program actually, because we're going to be showing you a lot of different ways where you can leverage AI to your advantage. And I guess one of the things I like to emphasize is that we are entering a very different world where traditionally, because I know many of you are from India, okay, and maybe some from Philippines, and I'm from Taiwan, the traditional education we're receiving, I believe, is very much outdated, okay, about tests, exams, all these things, technicalities. The school system, even many of you are attending university or even beyond, okay, I believe they are very outdated, okay. And the reason is that a lot of the technicality, a lot of the specialized knowledge, or simply being a professional knowledge, like for example, accounting, marketing, sales, doing copywriting or translation, right, language, or even program development. Some of you may be developers, right? These will be taken over by AI very, very soon. Okay, this is something I can definitely share with you because I've been in the tech space. I play games since I was 7. I taught myself programming at age 14, and I finished my PhD in 3 years, as opposed to the typical, 4 to 6 years in Taiwan. So, and I become an entrepreneur since 2011, So I think I have some of the front end seats than many of you about what is really truly going on in the world today. Okay, not the world you are watching on the news. It's the actual world, the reality we're living in. And the reality is AI and robotics will take over many jobs that people today have. Okay, and it's not a matter of whether it will do so, it's a matter of when and how. Okay, so I would like to, instill this background context to you guys very early on and very clearly. Okay, you want to understand the world that we're entering in. So that leaves the question, what does human do? When you are no longer able to quote unquote compete with AI or AI capable companies, like drivers will disappear with automatic driving, already in the legal space, in accounting. I was meeting someone who was just laid off, as a developer actually, because AI was taking over his job at the CorpRo. Okay, so these are just the beginning of things to be happen. So you want to ask the question is, what are human beings good for? All right, and I would say that is really about thinking, creativity, judgment, okay, and communication. That is something that AI, at least in the foreseeable future, still cannot replace. All right. And entrepreneurship probably is one of the human, endeavors that is so complex, okay, that requires so much of the integration, communication, capabilities that, it's likely not, be taken over. And in fact, the approach that we're going to create 1,000 impact unicorns is by highly leveraging AI capability in terms of creating what's called 3-person unicorns, which would believe, because if you look at the trajectory of how many people are able to start a unicorn company, with WhatsApp, it was 50 people. With Instagram, it was 12 people. The number is getting lower, all right? So, a 3-person team to start a unicorn. That is becoming, quite possible. And in fact, we would very much like to see one of the first coming from Ascender, which is the program we are participating in. Okay, so I just like to set this thing straight. And one more thing about the ground rule is that to increase the quality of our coaching, I will stop letting people in. Okay, today maybe, maybe more lenient, it's 10. Okay, I will not start, if you are late beyond, 10 past, we start, I will not let you in. And in fact, I think for my other coaching, which I charge at 500 US dollar per hour, okay, that's my consulting rate. If you are late than 5 minutes, you will not get in. Okay, so we will, do a bit of this and see what happens. Okay. All right. So that's it. Okay. I'm probably going to be sharing this only just once because it's recorded and every one of you can go back and watch. And okay, so let's start with the coaching today. Okay. So the first thing is, if you haven't, you should probably catch up, which is the YC materials, our weekly. We usually have a 10x mindset module on Monday and Friday, and 3 modules, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, on the Y Combinator, YC stuff. And we are on to the 3rd week now, okay? So the 3rd week, the topic is about building your founding team, okay? This is actually a really, really great topic because if you haven't realized, like people will become the most important assets. Specialized knowledge will be delegated, will be outsourced, will be automated by AI and also virtual assistant. Okay, that's another powerful thing to keep in mind. AI plus virtual assistants is going to replace a lot of the workforce that's currently being employed. All right. And so you do want to have, great founding team members if you're thinking about entrepreneurship. Now, let me ask you guys this. How many of you are actually thinking about starting a company or a startup? Either you're already doing now or you are thinking in the future. And let's do a show by hands with just typing 1 into the chat room. Okay, I just like to, and just once, okay, don't put too many. If you're thinking about creating your own company, now or in the future, either you already have a company or you're thinking of starting one, please type 1 into the chat room. Okay, I see a few. All right, 4, 5. Great. All right, okay, so there's 5 of you. All right, okay. All right, so I trust that the rest of you currently are still thinking about taking some kind of job, right? A corporate job or maybe a job at a startup company, which is fine. Okay, which is fine, actually. And the reason is that you might change your mind sometime in the future, especially if you go through our coaching program. When you start to realize there's actually a very small barrier between you and your company, okay? And the second thing is that to be employed actually creates no security whatsoever. If you're an employee, basically you could be fired, very quickly. And if you think that you can get a secure, quote unquote, secure job at large corporation or the government, let me tell you this, it's not going to happen. Okay, because if you look at US, United States, that's the example. The US president is already slashing a lot of the government, jobs and position, right, in order to cut costs. This is only the beginning. Okay, I can only tell you this. And some of the governments out there, they are actually running on deficit, meaning that they borrow money to run. That means the government level may not also sustain, in the long run. So it's, and unless you are really good, right? Otherwise, but if you're good in any field, then you don't have to worry. But becoming an entrepreneur may be one of the best ways you can basically become highly skilled at what you're doing. All right. So the materials, I hope that's relevant to every one of you. All right. So building even if you're not thinking about, starting, you should think about in terms of projects, right? Right now we're working projects. You also want to find the right team members for your project. All right, so the first YC module is about co-founders. There are some concepts. You want to find one co-founder rather than working alone. And reason is there's great feedback and support from one another. But you do want to make sure you guys are aligned in many ways, specifically in values, okay, in how you view time, how you view money, how you view your milestones. For example, maybe your co-founder or team member is thinking that we are going to, get rich in 1 to 3 years, or, like we will launch our product in 6 months. And it did not happen, okay, due to various reasons. That oftentimes get people maybe frustrated, okay, and want to quit, okay. So unless you are actually, aligned and clear about some of how you are viewing, milestones and how you're looking at money, time, right? For example, like how much time you should be committed to the project. Is it 5 hours a week? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 80? Okay. Those are the questions that, you want to ask. So the other thing is you want to have compatibility, okay, in terms of you get along with each other. Some of the best companies, YC has funded over 4,000 startups, just funded, so not even coached. They probably tens of thousands of people have come through the YC program, and they have come up with over 100 unicorn companies. So they know about founders. Great founders are great friends. All right, that's usually the case. And there is also a good reason, because in your journey, likely there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. And unless you have great, relation and communication, otherwise you will not, last long. Okay, so compatibility is actually more important than skill set, which is learnable. And one more thing, YC emphasize a lot, is that you want to have what's called a technical co-founder on your team. All right. And what by technical co-founder, it means that someone is able to build the product or the service that you want to sell. And the reason is very simple, because a lot of people have ideas, but if you have been an entrepreneur for any kind of time, you will understand, ideas are a dime a dozen. Usually entrepreneurs are, if you're creative, you can likely find many different ideas. However, the true key metric, and it's whether you can execute on those ideas to get results. That's the real key. Even if you have a really bad idea, but you have strong execution, likely you can refine the idea and make it work. Okay, so execution is a lot more important than the initial ideas, because very likely your ideas will change, all right, as you come and discover things, which is called pivoting. Actually, I can share a story. Yesterday, I was coming from New York to this place, Niagara, by bus. Okay, because I like to, travel, save costs, and also, meet interesting people. I was sitting next to this very expert cook for over 25 years, and he had some entrepreneur idea that, he thought he basically gave it away while he tried to get someone to execute the idea for him, but they did not. They took the money and did not execute. And later he just found that, somebody, that product has already been in the market. Okay, so he was really pissed, and he thought that now he will keep all the ideas to himself. Now, there are a couple of things I like to share from his story. The first is that you want to be able to execute on your ideas, either yourself or within your team, which is what the technical co-founder should do. All right, so if you don't have the execution capability, you want to get someone as a co-founder to do so, okay, or you are the technical co-founder. The second thing is that the lesson he learned from his bad experience actually is a wrong one. Because if you don't share your idea with people, okay, it's like, this is another thing I can share with you. Some people think that their idea is so valuable, okay, they ask people to sign NDAs or VCs to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreement, before they are willing to reveal their idea. That's a really bad move, okay? From what I can tell, because right now I'm also one step in the VC world as an investor, I can tell you that for good VCs, if you ask to sign NDAs, they will not even bother with you, okay? Because they are seeing so many ideas on a daily basis, that it's not even worth their time or attention to sign any NDA with you. All right. So you do want to understand that ideas are not the true, it's the important initial starting point, but it's not the whole or most important thing. Okay, it's really about how well you can execute. Google was not the first search engine. In fact, when Google entered the space, and so is Facebook, okay, not the first social media network, but they executed so well, okay, that they outcompete all the existing players in the market at the time. All right. So you may not want to be you don't have to be the first, but you definitely want to be the best in your marketplace. All right. So, and then there's trust building. Okay. You want to build trust with each other. This can be done over friendship, over joint activities, common projects. And one way to start that is you can do a pilot project together. All right. So just on that note, what we're going to share actually is we actually have a co-founder. If you don't have a co-founder yet, we will be sharing a sheet where you can fill out your basic information, and you will have access at the end to all the people who have filled the Google form with their basic information. And you can try to filter and reach out to them to find your potential, co-founders. All right. So we usually will start to ask some questions for you as part of the coaching. So today's first question is very simply, do you already have a co-founder or a business partner? Okay. And whether the answer is yes or not, okay, the other thing important is what personal qualities do you value the most? All right. Okay. So for this first question, I'm going to give everybody just 1 minute to write down. Okay. So please take up your notebook, or if you're typing on computer, that's also fine. And even if you are people from our last cohort, like Karthik here, actually he wanted to start his marketing agency, and he's already helping to recruit for our Q2 cohorts. You probably see him on the WhatsApp, and many of you probably come because of his effort. This is also a direct demonstration of how we are helping you to succeed in your own, entrepreneurial endeavors. All right, so let's start. 1 minute. Whether you have a co-founder, business partner, and what personal qualities do you value the most? All right, so let's start. 1 minute. All right, 10 more seconds. Okay, good. All right, so our next YC module, okay, which is about how to split equity among the co-founders. Now, some of the key concepts here. This is actually one of the probably important topics, you want to address early on. The first idea is you want to prioritize long-term benefits. The reason is that as the main founder, okay, of your company, most people actually don't really think too far. Okay, probably not, 3 years, 1 year. Most people actually operate on a, weekly, even daily basis. Okay, so you want to prioritize long-term benefit. And what does that mean? That means you want to give sufficient equity to your collaborators. What do I mean sufficient? By YC's definition is at least 10% of the company. Okay, at least 10%. And the reason is if you give anything below 10%, then there's not really much incentive for that person to participate long term. All right, it's just human nature. Okay, if it's less than 10%, it's not really their company, right? It's your company, and they will more or less act as an employee rather than a co-founder. But if that is in the initial stage, especially as we are targeting at 3-person unicorns, actually you don't have to find too many people, and that's the beauty of it. Okay, with today's AI tools and technology, you can potentially create a unicorn even with just 3 persons, 3 co-founders, right? So, but then the other end of that is you want to be highly selective of who you are inviting as the co-founder. And if you make sure that they are the right ones, the co-founder, then you want to be generous with your equity. Now, yeah, so basically this is what YCs. And how are you going to guarantee or ensure that this person will not sell you up, take advantage of you? There's a standard process, okay, from Silicon Valley, which is called vesting period and cliff. So the idea of vesting is that you don't get the equity all at once. It's over time. The standard is 4 years, but you can design it 5 years or even 10 years. So for example, for Ascender, we actually are thinking, we've thought about designing getting the shares over a period of 10 years. Okay, that was actually to indicate the kind of commitment. And there's also what's called 1-year cliff, which is you cut off. Okay, cliff is a cutoff. It means that if you join the team, but you leave within 1 year, regardless of whatever reason, the person, doesn't match, the person you invite want to quit, right? He has family, he has dog to take care of, whatever. He gets nothing. He or she gets nothing. Okay, it's called a 1-year cliff. So these are pretty much standard Silicon Valley terms. So you might as well adopt, right? Because already tested, used by lots of people. So this way, once you have this in place, it's actually a guarantee, a security for you as the main founder. But then, because you do have this guarantee, you want to, basically, then you want to basically provide, right, generous, generous equity, right, for that, at least 10%, right? And ideally, according to YC, is you want to split things, let's say you have 2 co-founders, then it should be 50-50. If it's 3 co-founders, you want to split it, 3-way. Okay, that's ideally. You can start that as the basis and then adjust. All right. So yeah, and if you're unwilling to give equity, then probably that indicates you don't value the other person enough, or you don't think that person is valuable enough. In other words, that person probably should not be a co-founder. It's better maybe just hire the person as an employee. All right. Okay. So today's our second question is, if you think about this equity split, then how would you design? Okay, I guess how would you design, the equity structure for your current or future co-founders? Okay, so I guess well, sorry, I think this is probably an easy question. Okay, because there's not much answer to this. You can probably think about. Let me ask the other question then. Okay, which is okay, if you plan to work with a co-founder for more than 10 years. Oh, sorry, this is actually the same question. So let me put it this way. What's an equity structure that you would like to design if you want to work with this person for over 10 plus years? Okay, rather than let's say 1 to 3 years. Okay, how would that, how would you design that? Okay, all right. So think about this, and again, I'll give everyone just 1 minute to answer the question. Okay, and another thing I want to emphasize before you start is that if you are really thinking about creating a unicorn level company, that is very much a 10 plus year activity. Okay, over a decade of commitment. If you don't have that kind of commitment, then likely don't start. Okay, or probably it's not going to be like a unicorn, enterprise. But that being said, you know, if you are just wanting to get maybe a $1 million revenue opportunity, unicorn is like $100 million per year for revenue. If it's just a 1 million, 5 million, 10 million opportunity, that's perfectly fine. You can live a very comfortable life if you actually create a company like that. But for our purpose here, we want you to shoot for the highest goal possible. And this is part of the 10x idea, because even if you don't reach your goal, likely you will grow a lot more than if you are shooting for something lower. All right. Okay, so that's with 1 minute to think about how would you design your equity structure if you actually want to work with that person for 10 plus years. Okay, all right, so let's start. All right, 10 more seconds. Okay, all right. So let's continue with one more module about 10x mindset. Okay, so I think it might be the right ratio. We already talked about 2 modules in this week's YC. For 10x, you guys will continuously be exposed to this idea. Okay, and obviously we started it with the webinar, right? That you probably, I hope you have watched. Oh, by the way, there's actually a great webinar from my mentor, teacher, Dr. Benjamin Hardy at scaling.com. This is something I would also highly recommend you guys, okay, to basically to have a look. It's only 10 minutes now, and it's very much related to what we're doing here. You want to understand 10x growth is actually exponential. Okay, so we will be teaching you lots of ideas, mindset, and the reason, the logic, the hows of 10x thinking. But what happens is, when you are going on a 10x journey, the next unit of progress potentially can be larger than the sum of all your previous progress. All right, I'll give you an example. Let's say you are just have 1 penny, right? Okay, let's use US dollar, okay, because I mean, you guys probably have different monetary system, but US dollar, right? 100 pennies is $1, right? We know that. So let's say you start with just 1 penny, right? If you grow 10x, that's 10 pennies, right? So you have grown 10x, and you have grown from 1 penny to 10 pennies. But then for the next 10x, if you continue to grow 10x from 10 pennies, you become $1, right? 100 pennies. right? So at these two growth, you're both doing 10x growth. However, the second 10x growth, you actually gone from, 10 pennies to 100, which is 90 pennies increase, right? So this 10x growth actually is more than all your previous 10x growth, which is just 10 pennies combined, right? 90 pennies is a lot more, 9 times as big as 10 pennies. All right, so I guess this is a simple example to showcase you. So with this, what you should expect is that when you are embarking on a 10x growth journey trajectory, it's actually an exponential trajectory. You might experience more progress within the next month or next week than all the previous time combined. Okay, this is one very powerful concept. Okay, you want to, and obviously you do have to, you want to take a certain approach of how you are using your time in order to actually truly live the 10x, trajectory. But basically, you should expect that. And how are you going to do this 10x? All right, there are two key aspects. One is called master the past. Okay, so most people think that, basically, most people think in terms of a linear time model, meaning that our present impacts the future, right? Our future is determined by our present, and our past determines our present, right? So past determines present and present determines future. That's what most people think, but that's a linear thinking model of time. For 10x thinking, for people like Elon Musk, who has done multiple things, gone to multiple industry, right? The key trick is actually your future determines your present. And in fact, your present determines your past. Okay. Now, how does that work, right? It's because, okay, let me talk about the master of past. Because while past events, times, dates, events, people, you cannot change. It's history, right? It's already happened. Nothing you can do to change that. However, the interpretation of your past can change and can improve with reflection. All right, so let's say the favorite example I like to give is at one point in my life, I actually lost 150 thousand US dollar over a weekend. All right, you can imagine that's a pretty traumatic experience, right? So obviously at the time it was devastating to myself, to my family. Oh, I think Karthik has a question. I'll let you ask after I finish this. All right. Okay. That was a pretty traumatic experience, I think, for me or anyone else, right? That if you are in that was probably about 1/3 or even 1/2 of my net worth at the time. Okay. So it was pretty traumatic. However, now if I look back over the event and I start to look from a different angle, which is why is it so valuable? Why was it happen for me, not to me? Why it has become one of my best assets? Why was that something really good for me? If I start to ask that question, I can give you a lot of different answers. For example, because of that incident, that experience, I learned the importance of betting small. You don't want to bet big for something until you have validated that. So always start with small experiments. Okay, always. Okay, you want to use a little money, a little time to test out something, just like what you guys are doing right now, right? You are spending maybe an hour of time here listening me to talk, right? That is your investment, your commitment of your valuable 1 hour right here. And it's a small experiment, right? But if you're getting something valuable from this, then maybe you can decide to bet more, meaning that you might want to invest more time into our materials, into the coaching, into the question answering, right? So that's something you can decide after you have experiment, after you have experience, all right? So I'm just sharing you. The other thing is I learned some of the financial techniques and I guess key things to note for, in my future investment strategies or approaches, right, to money. So obviously, I would still make mistakes. but I would definitely not want to make the same mistake I made. And potentially because I have learned from that painful experience. Likely, because the amount of money I'm dealing with is only going to increase. So are you. All right. It could be just maybe $100, $1,000 at that time, but you will be dealing, if you're successful in life, in work, right? You will be dealing more and more amount of money, thousands, tens of thousands, right? Millions, even billions. Okay. If you are truly serious about learning from this course, I expect some of you will become billionaires. Okay, and that's just by definition, if you create a unicorn company, you will become a billionaire for sure. All right, so I'm expecting totally great things from you guys. All right, in the future, even if you don't have the ideas right now. Now, so by deep reflection over your past, you can actually clarify what are some of the most important changes and growth you have acquired, in the past, and try to utilize that. That is your golden nuggets, right? You want to amplify for the future. Now, about mastering the future. Once you actually, know what's the best 20% from your past, you can then amplify that. And you can also identify what's the most important 20% of people, things, and matters that you want to focus on. And again, drawing from a 10x future vision. All right. This is why we ask every one of you to start to have a 10x goal, initially. Whatever goal you have for you, let's say in 1 year or 3 years, try to 10x that. Okay, 10x your goal. And then use that as a filter to determine and judge what you should be doing right now. All right? Okay, so that's kind of, how you master the past, how you master the future. Karthik, you had a question. You want to ask now? Or did I already answer your question?
So sorry to disturb you, but some of them are trying to join now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. As I said, I decided that if you're, after 10 minutes, then we will not let you in. Okay. Unless, you are rejoining, you follow up due to network issues. Okay. But then probably we want to have someone to keep an eye on that. So I'll let you decide, okay, to whether to let people in. All right. I'll let you to become the what's called the co-host. All right, Karthik?
Okay.
Okay. You can decide, I think only let those that have dropped out due to network issues, okay, to rejoin. And let them know that please join next time online and, on time. We will be stricter and stricter, okay? Today is like past 10 minutes. I think next time, maybe in the second month, it's, after 5 minutes, then we will not let people in. Okay, all right.
I think it's clashing with their college timings. That's why they
I
couldn't
see.
join.
I see. All right. Okay. Then you have to make a choice. Okay. Whether this is participating live is important or your college class. All right. In my college years, I skip all my classes actually. I was the last to graduate, but probably I think the most free in my current, classmates, among my current classmates. All right. All right, so yeah, for those of you who just joined, I like to say that we will not letting people in after 10 past, and then it will be like 5 past, our starting hours. This is just to make sure it's fair for everyone. We want to have a quality coaching session. All right. Okay. So for the third question today is that let's just um, do an exercise. Okay. What does your 10x future self look like? Okay, within the next 3 years. We will be asking asking you to answer this question on a continuous basis. Because if you are participating correctly in this program, likely you are experiencing very dramatic growth, okay, on a weekly and even a daily basis. I'm not kidding, because I myself have gone through such transformation myself. All right. So, okay. So basically the question now is, what does your 10x future self look like? Okay, within the next 3 years. All right, so I'll give everyone just 1 minute to write down. You can talk about your life, your work, what you're doing, what projects you're working on, lifestyle, whatever. All right, let's start with 1 minute. Okay, let's start. All right, 10 more seconds. All right, okay. All right, so now we will open the floor for some sharings, okay? Now notice this is a mastermind session, so it's not just me giving feedback, but you guys can also give peer feedbacks, okay? So I like to invite, any one of you to share your answers. You can share your answers. You can also share any questions or insights you have during, answering these questions or listening to the coaching materials. All right, so anyone would like to share first? Raise your hand. All right, and Shika Tulavata, is that right? Did I pronounce your name right? And Shika, would you like to share? You can unmute yourself. And remember, this is, treat this, even if you're listening to someone else, try to think of how this applies to you, the conversations. All right, so sorry, I didn't hear you. All right, so anyone else? And Shika, can you unmute and share? If not, then the next person. All right. All right. By the way, raise your hand. All right. If you like to share, raise your virtual hand, and we will take, from the order. All right. If not, then Jane, would you like to share? Jane is actually our partner in the sender. Yeah,
sure. I was
trying
to find the right button.
Okay. You want to master 2 buttons, unmute and also raise your digital hand.
Great.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, let me share my what I write down. Okay, so as Shunyu mentioned, we both collaborate. We want to achieve this, cultivate 1,000 impact unicorns in 20 years. So that's one of my 10x is to me, I think you all already know the unicorn definition is either 100 million annual revenue. I would also emphasize for some of you, which maybe improve people's life is more important, then I would also say then that the goal could be you want to positively impact a billion's life. That would be my goal. Right? Whether you want to be a billionaire or improve a billion's life. I think you have that choice, right? If you're doing well, you would help more people at the same time. So that's my first goal. And second goal, I want to feel financially free and be able to invest in others, both on the capital and the knowledge front. Right? I think everybody have different lifestyles, so you can set up your own minimum threshold. For me, it will be another 2 million. That will be the minimum threshold dollars. Of course, the more the better, then the more the impact. But it's not for the lavish, right, lifestyle. But I think to give yourself that freedom, you can really do and also make a sizable impact. Let's put that way. The third one is I personally really enjoy the different experience with people around the world. That's who I am. I spent half of my life already doing that. So I would like to every 3 to 6 months, I like to work and learn with people around the world, building something meaningful together. That would be my 3.
Great. All right. Thanks for sharing. So any feedback? Okay, any feedback
Yeah, please.
from anyone here? Yeah, feel free to ask questions to Jane or feedback to her what she shared. You can do so with unmute yourself, or you can also type in the chat. Okay, if not, then I'll provide some feedback, all right, for Jane. Okay, all right, so
Please.
actually the first feedback is that if you want to, get financial free and invest on others, do that now, as opposed to in the future. Maybe you're already doing that, okay?
Yeah, I think we're doing that, but on that scale, right?
Right, right. I understand. Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is whatever you want to do as your future self, try to do a little bit of that now.
Mhm.
Okay. And the concept is this. This is an important one. I like everyone to kind of understand as well. Your future self may seem very far away, or in fact, we invite you to set up impossibly high future self versions of yourself, okay, for yourself, because that actually is easier than, a 2x goal. 10x is easier than 2x. There's a reason behind that. But the way to do that is however high goal you're setting for yourself, you can already live that future self, even 5 minutes a day. I'll give one example on my own, okay? My future self in 3 years is someone who has incubated, let's say at least 10 3-person unicorns, okay, and managing $10 billion of assets under management. This is what I set up for, myself and Ascender in 3 years. Now that is an impossibly high goal, right? However, part of that is also I will have the time freedom to really think about how to go about 10x growth on a daily basis, right? So every day when I start, I actually give myself 10 minutes of time to just visualize that future, all right? And think about what I will be doing in 3 years, okay, if that's actually a reality, and plan my day accordingly. So even though I'm not yet someone who has already done 10 plus, 3-person unicorns, I am acting and thinking as if I've already done that, even for just 10 minutes a day. All right. So, and that is profound because this is one thing about human psychology, and you can dig up, there's a lot of evidence, scientific research behind this, is that our brain cannot tell the difference between an imagined scenario and the reality. Which is why some people have traumas. Okay. Trauma is a bad experience, a hurtful experience that you are reliving on your brain, each time you think of it. So for people to have traumas, the event already has passed, whether it's a car accident, it's a loss of a loved one, someone betrayed you, you lost money, whatnot, right? But the fact that whenever you think about that, and you're still painful about that, means that you haven't really let that go yet, right? It's a traumatic because you are reliving the experience every time you think about that. All right. So obviously, a better way is that you can let that go. Try to, for example, we shared today, what you can learn from the experience. What's something valuable that you can take from, right? So that in the future you can avoid the same mistake, or act better. In that sense, that past event becomes an asset, becomes something valuable, becomes a golden nugget, right? Rather than something that's painful. In the process, you are changing your interpretation and feeling for the event and therefore letting go. So it no longer becomes a traumatic experience, right? So similarly, for your future self, you can also imagine the life. And this is why people talk about visualization, why it's important, why it's powerful. It's because when you start to visualize your future, the kind of lifestyle, I don't know what for me, it's, you know, I'm doing masterminds with 10 3-person unicorn founders, you know, on a regular basis, you know, on a monthly basis, right? And have $10 billion of assets, mostly in properties, some in, you know, stock shares. I will start to see and imagine and visualize that. And then ask myself, what should I do? What's the most important thing I can do today to advance myself and my company towards that, right?
Mm.
So this becomes a daily exercise on a daily basis. This is, in fact, one of the first 10 minutes I spend each day I wake up, kind of my morning routine. I'm sharing with you guys, all right? But the important thing is, even it's just 10 minutes, I'm already my future self,
Mm.
you see? And the trick is then to start increase from 10 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours to 4 hours until at some point of time, your 24 hours are already your future self. By that time, you become your future self.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So if you want to have some money to invest for people, do that today, even on a very small scale. Then you're acting towards your future. And that also helps you cognitively, psychologically, to see yourself as already being your future self.
Mm. Great point.
All right. Okay. So that's my feedback. Hope that helps. And all right. So anyone else would like to share your
Thank you.
answers? When you are sharing your answers, you get, you know, feedback like these from not just me, but from others. Okay. Anyone? Okay. If not, then I think
Natin has a question in
okay.
the chat. Let me
Natin?
just
Okay,
read to you.
okay,
I
all
think
right.
he's interested in
Duration.
to know the
All right.
duration.
Okay. Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure. All right, all right. This is very simple. We are running by quarterly cohorts. Okay, what that means is every 3 months we have a new batch. Already the last batch ended in March, so the duration is from now until the end of June. Okay. At I think the 3rd week of June, we will have a demo day. Okay. And what you got after completion is you will, if you, you know, go throughout the courses, okay, you will get a, you know, you will get a certificate that will be emailed to your address, okay, with your name on it for as a proof of completion of the coaching program, okay? And this is, okay. Now, Jane would like to remind me, this is not an internship, okay? I would say that, you know, you can treat it as either an internship or the beginning of your entrepreneur journey. Okay, either way is fine, actually, to me. All right. But remember that when you are approaching with a different mindset, if you're seeing this just as an internship, as an employee, right? I think you're getting probably less than 10% of the value you can potentially get, or even less than 5% of the value. However, if you're looking this, right, as a stepping stone for your bigger, brighter, and more free future, then you will get all the benefit from this. Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so Nitin, did that answer your question? Okay, I hope it does. Okay. You can, all right. And during this process, actually, we are expecting you to either start up your own project or you can join one of our existing projects. Okay, this is unpaid. This is unpaid. You don't get paid. Okay, this is very direct and upfront. I believe we have mentioned that in many places. If you are looking for a paid internship, you go elsewhere. Okay, you don't have to come here. This is unpaid. But you will get things that are a lot more valuable than money. I don't know how many of you can understand what I just described, but you know, in order to get any kind of coaching like this, I have personally spent over 50,000 US dollars to acquire the things I'm sharing with you. Okay, so if you cannot see the value, then you should not be here. All right, Danish, hope that answers your question. Did that answer your question? All right, so any other questions?
Yeah, if I may add one thing to what you said, Shunyuan,
Sure,
this is
go
Jane,
ahead.
right? To everybody, I think a lot of people, especially when we were young, I remember when I was in school, I'm looking for internship, right? At that point, at time. So I think everybody, as Shunyuan said, right? The more time, efforts you put this, the more value you get from there. Consider that's your reward or payment, right?
Right,
Knowledge is
exactly.
power. Knowledge is really valuable.
Yeah.
I was at a conference at Harvard, quick story. And one of the speakers, he is a serial entrepreneur. His company had sold for over $3 billion. And he said that the value, what really truly determined the value in life, the real power, it's not the money, it's learning. So actually you get a lot here by learning, but then even more if you put your ideas, find a co-founder, bring that to life, right? Imagine that's beyond an internship. Right? That's why I said this is not an internship. This is really a creation,
Okay.
right? A
Yes,
seed
yes.
to plan for
Okay.
your future.
All right, great. All right. I think you guys are asking, if you have any questions, you can also reach out to Karthik. Okay. I think Karthik is, already making making some stuff. Okay. By working on his, his marketing agency. And Shika asked the question, what kind of task or project will we working on during the intern, during, I guess, the coaching? Okay. Well, you can join to our project sync. So today is Wednesday, right? For many of you. On Tuesday, right now we have the Pure Harvest project. Okay, so at about this time, I think if you join at this, Tuesday at about this time, okay, whatever the time is in your time zone, then you will be looking at what we're currently working on in terms of Pure Harvest, which is one of our in-house 3% unicorn. Okay, you can start to see firsthand. And the assignments or whatever we will give to you when you participate in those sessions. All right. So basically that's to and Shika. Danish asked what programming language. We don't care. Okay, we don't care. It's really about what you are, what you're best good at. I started learning C programming myself. I later, did a lot of JavaScript. I'd say I know a few languages, C sharp, but at this stage in my life, I can tell you that I don't think languages really matter that much. Okay, especially if you are leveraging AI for programming. There's a lot of no-code, low-code development resources out there. I highly recommend you to look at and leverage them. Okay. If you are interested to do a particular kind of language, I would recommend to learn some of the blockchain languages well, okay, or the AI-related languages. All right. Okay, we will not teach you programming languages here. There are a lot of resources out there, but we will teach you how you can master, your skill set to leverage those language skills to the next level to build something actually important. Yes, Karthik is right. Read the pinned message in the WhatsApp group. A lot of the answers have been answered there. Yeah. All right, so let's do the wrap up part, which is a feedback, which I put into the chat. Please. Okay. Okay. One ask, Ekta, you're not programming background with this for me. Definitely, yes. You don't have to be a programmer to participate. In fact, you can probably find some programmers here, or you can leverage the low code, no code tools to build whatever projects you want to build. Okay. All right. So let's spend 1 minute just to go to the sheet. Okay. By the way, your feedback form will be a record of whether you have attended the coaching session. Your attendance at the coaching session will, plus whether you do a demo presentation, that will determine whether you will be qualified, for some funding grants, towards your project. We will start at $500, okay, but up to 5,000. Okay, so that is the current, okay. All right, Danish, that's good. Okay, I will welcome you to join our specific, project sync for Pure Harvest in order to find out how, if anything, you like to do or contribute. All right, and other people can reach out to Danish. Danish is an expert, so if you are looking for technical co-founders, go reach out to Danish. Okay, I believe Danish is in the WhatsApp group, right? That's excellent. All right, so spend 1 minute and write down just what's the biggest takeaway from today. And then also, what is your next action? Okay, just these two things. All right, so we'll start with 1 minute. All right, let's start. All right, 10 more seconds. All right, okay, done. All right. So for those still asking certificate, go and check the chat, okay, to WhatsApp group and ask. All right, we've answered that many times. All right, so the answer is yes. Okay, but the details you have to rewatch the recording. All right. So I'd like to invite a few shares. Okay, what is your biggest takeaway and what's your next action? All right, anyone? You can unmute yourself or raise your hand if you'd like to share, or unmute yourself. Or you can type in the chat. All right. It's not the time to be shy. This is a safe environment. Okay. So all right. So I'll ask Cheng again. What's your biggest takeaway from today?
Great. My biggest takeaway is leaving my future self today, right? Even in the small doses, 10 minutes, we all can do that. But I think that makes a big difference on that. So I would do that.
Great. What's your next action?
Well, that's the action, right?
Okay.
Those, I will start doing that, right? Either think big, invest differently, perhaps, and also right, giving back every day. Yeah.
Okay, sure. All right, great. All right. So anyone else would like to share? What's your biggest takeaway and next action? Danish, would you like to share? You have been active. Can you speak? Danish? All right. If not, Karthik, can Karthik share? Oh, Danish, yes. All right, then unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself? Do you guys know how to unmute? It's just a button. Yeah, Danish, what's your biggest takeaway from today and any next action you'd like to take? So, all right, okay. If not, the Karthik, would you like to share? What's your takeaway from today? Karthik, go ahead.
I would like to find the co-founder for the business.
Great. Excellent. All right. So what's your action specifically?
Action, I have to look for the skills that I am lacking, and maybe I'll find a partner who can compensate for that.
Okay, okay, excellent, excellent. All right. So you will find the integrator visionary tools, helpful, and also, try to find people who are complementing you in terms of the geniuses. This is something a survey I think assessment we ask you guys to do. Okay, there are 4 genius type. You want to know which type you are and probably find complementary people. Okay, and whether a visionary or an integrator. This is also important. Visionary is usually the people who make it up. The integrator is the person who make it real. Okay, you want to have both, right? All right. So I think that concludes our today's week 3 coaching session. Okay, I congratulate every one of you. Okay, for joining. Okay, and we'll see you next week, same time. All right, and remember, come before 10 past. I think we will start to, be more strict from next time on. All right. All right. So I think this concludes our first hour. We will start to do what's the work sync. Okay, for the second hour, or maybe half an hour, 30 minutes or so. And you are, okay, feel free to stay if you like. Okay, I think we like this to become open. It's basically a sender internal work sync. If you like to learn and contribute, feel free to stay. But the main players discussion are between Karthik and I, and also Jane. Okay. All right, so that's it. All right, thanks.